She told me he touched her. I didn't scream. Instead, I smiled, planning the perfect revenge quietly. That smile was a lie, a porcelain mask over the jagged glass of my shattered trust, because Mia, my sister, my shadow, the one I'd bled for, wasn't just confessing, she was carving out my heart with a dull knife. And in that sticky booth at the back of O'Malley's Dive, with the jukebox crooning some forgotten Springsteen ballad about working-class ghosts, I realized the family I'd anchored my life to was nothing but a sinking ship, and I was the only one left paddling. It started like most Chicago winters do, brutal, unrelenting, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes you question why anyone ever settled here in the first place. I'm Chloe Harlan, 34, a mid-level paralegal at one of those faceless downtown firms where the partners treat you like interchangeable cogs in their billable hour machine. My days were a grind of depositions and coffee runs. My nights a ritual of microwave dinners and true crime podcasts to drown out the silence of my one bedroom in Wicker Park. Jake, my husband of 7 years, was the steady part, the anchor. A high school history teacher with a laugh like gravel and a habit of leaving his lesson plans scattered across our kitchen table like confetti from a party neither of us remembered attending. We weren't fireworks. We were embers, comfortable in their glow. Or so I thought. Mia was the wild card, always had been. 2 years younger, with that effortless beauty that turns heads in a crowd. Wavy auburn hair, eyes like smoked whiskey, and a smile that could disarm a room full of skeptics. She'd crashed into my life like a meteor when our parents died in that pile-up on I-90 back in '05, leaving me to raise her through high school while I clawed my way through community college. I was the fixer, the shield, she was the spark. I'd covered for her petty rebellions, the shoplifted lipstick from Jewel-Osco, the fake IDs for those underage raves in Pilsen. But the big one? That was the scar that never faded. It was sophomore year for her, senior for me. Fast forward a decade, and Mia's the golden child, junior associate at my firm, engaged to a tech bro from Silicon Valley who's between ventures, living in a Logan Square loft that smells like artisanal candles and ambition. Jake adores her, calls her little sis, slips her extra slices of his famous deep dish pizza when she crashes our movie nights. Me? I'm the reliable one, the one who remembers birthdays and cosigns loans. But that night at O'Malley's, everything cracked. She slid into the booth across from me, her manicure chipped like she'd been clawing at something, or someone, too hard. The bar was half empty, the kind of place where truckers nurse IPAs and divorcees scroll Tinder under dim Edison bulbs. Chloe, she started, voice a whisper shout over the clink of glasses, I have to tell you something. It's Jake. My stomach did that freefall thing, like the elevator in the John Hancock building dropping too fast. I nodded, sipping my gin and tonic, the ice cubes clinking like tiny accusations. He touched me. The words landed like a sucker punch, soft but bruising. Touched her. My husband. My sister. In the sacred space of our marriage, the one I'd rebuilt brick by brick after my stint inside made me swear off risks. She wouldn't meet my eyes, twisting a cocktail napkin into confetti. Details tumbled out in fragments. A late-night work session at our apartment while I was pulling an all-nighter at the office, his hand on her knee during a hug that lingered too long. Whispers that crossed lines I'd drawn in permanent ink. It was a mistake, she sobbed, mascara streaking like black rivers down her cheeks. I pushed him away, I swear. But it happened, and I couldn't not tell you. I should have shattered. Screamed until the bartender called the cops, hurled my glass at the wall, stormed out into the sleet and demanded answers from the man who'd promised me forever under the bean that drizzly summer evening. But no, that smile crept across my face, slow and deliberate, like honey over razor blades. It's okay, Mia, I said, reaching across to squeeze her hand, my voice steady as Lake Michigan in July. We'll fix this. Together. Inside, though, a furnace roared to life, blueprints forming in the dark corners of my mind. Revenge isn't a blaze. It's a slow burn, the kind that chars from the inside out. The next morning, I woke before dawn, the city still cloaked in that pre-coffee hush. Jake was sprawled beside me, snoring softly, his arm flung over the pillow where my head should have been. I slipped out, brewed a pot strong enough to strip paint, and sat at the Formica counter scrolling through old texts. Mia's name popped up. Thanks for last night. Love you, sis. Heart emoji. Vomit. But I replied, Love you more. Breakfast soon? As if nothing had fractured. Work was a blur of motions and memos, my desk a fortress of manila folders hiding the storm. By lunch, I'd mapped it. Step 1, confirm. I texted Jake a casual, missed you last week. Late grading sessions? His reply, yeah, brutal. Mia helped with some research. Hero. The word twisted like a knife. That afternoon, I accidentally left my phone at home, synced it to my laptop via iCloud, and dove into the rabbit hole. Deleted messages, sure, but backups don't lie. There they were. Jake to Mia, can't stop thinking about your laugh. Timestamp 2:17 a.m. Her reply, shoo, Chloe's room is right there. Followed by a winking emoji. Touched her. God, the euphemism burned. But it wasn't just the affair. Digging deeper, I unearthed the rot. Mia's emails from the firm's server. Yeah, I had admin access from that glitchy promotion last year. Revealed she'd been poaching clients, funneling them to a side hustle with Jake's unwitting help. He'd been tutoring her friends in history, but really? It was alibis for her late nights, covers for meetings where she'd charm away billable hours. And the kicker? A buried thread from 5 years back, when I'd just made junior paralegal. Mia had botched a filing, lost a deposition tape that could have tanked a partner's case. Instead of owning it, she'd pinned it on me, whispering to HR that I'd seemed distracted. I got the warning, the docked pay. She got the raise. I'd swallowed it, chalked it up to sisterly friction. Now, it was the match to my fuse. By evening, the plan solidified over takeout low main in front of the TV, Jake none the wiser as he raved about the Bears' slim playoff chances. I'd start small, whispers. A anonymous tip to HR about Mia's unethical consultations. Then escalate, fabricate evidence, lean on my record to play the victim card, turn their golden girl into tarnished tin. Jake? He'd crumble under the weight of his own guilt, the man who'd sworn vows now exposed as the fool who broke them. But as I lay awake that night, staring at the water-stained ceiling, doubt flickered. Was this justice, or just me dragging them into my abyss? The smile from O'Malley's haunted me, a ghost in the machine. Weeks blurred into a calculated haze. I fed the fire methodically, like stoking a boiler in one of those old South Side factories. First, the seeds. At the next firm happy hour in a River North lounge with velvet ropes and overpriced craft beers, I cornered our boss, Harlan. Ironic name. That, over shrimp cocktails. Mia's been a godsend, I said, voice laced with feigned admiration. But I've heard whispers about her. Side projects. Nothing solid, just girl talk. His bushy brows furrowed, the kind of look that says noted without committing. By Monday, Mia's inbox was flooded with compliance audits, her charm offensive hitting brick walls. Jake noticed the chill first. Everything okay with you two? He'd ask over dinner, fork midway to his mouth, eyes searching mine like a student caught cheating on a test. I'd nod, force that smile. Just busy. Sisters, you know. But inside, the plan evolved. I hacked his email, child's play with a shared router and a forgotten password, and planted breadcrumbs, flirty drafts to consultants, expense reports padded with phantom lunches. Nothing traceable, just enough smoke to choke him when the alarm sounded. Mia confronted me one drizzly Tuesday in the firm's break room, steam rising from vending machine coffee, like unspoken accusations. What's going on, Chloe? Harlan's writing me like I'm the enemy. Her eyes, so like Mom's, pleaded. I met them square, the smile returning unbidden. Maybe it's karma, sis. For all the times I covered your ass. The word slipped out, sharper than intended, and for a split second, her mask cracked. Guilt, raw and fleeting. What do you mean? She pressed, but I waved it off. Forget it. Water under the bridge. Except it wasn't. That night, alone with a bottle of Malbec, I unearthed the real skeleton, the accident. I'd buried it deep, but digital ghosts don't stay down. In a forgotten Dropbox folder from our old shared account, there it was, the police report from 2012. Mia, behind the wheel of Dad's old Chevy after too many shots at a Wrigleyville bar crawl. She'd T-boned a cab, sent a pedestrian to the ER with a shattered femur. Blood alcohol 0.12. But the talk screen? Clean for me. I'd shown up, stone sober from my AA meetings post-juvie, switched places in the chaos. Cops bought the story. I was driving, officer. She was passenger. Mia walked free, finished law school on time. I got community service, the weight of another secret pressing on my chest like a boot. Why? Because she was the dreamer, I the doer. But now, staring at the scanned report glowing on my screen, rage boiled over. She'd touched him, my husband, but it was more. She'd touched my life, over and over, leaving fingerprints I couldn't scrub clean. The revenge sharpened, expose it all. Not just the affair, but the lies, the swaps, the sins I'd shouldered so she could shine. The escalation hit like a Lake Shore Drive rush hour. Horns blaring, no escape. I started with Jake, because breaking a man quietly is an art form, one I'd learned in those long juvie nights plotting my own redemption. Over breakfast, his favorite, eggs over easy with rye toast, I dropped the first pebble. Mia's been acting weird, I said, buttering my slice with deliberate slowness. Talking about you a lot. Like, too much. He paused, coffee mug halfway to his lips, that teacherly squint kicking in. What do you mean? I shrugged, casual as a Cubs win. Just vibes. You two spend a lot of time together lately. The seed took root. By evening, he was distant, scrolling his phone with feigned interest in ESPN highlights. Mia, though, she was the spider, sensing the web's tremor. She cornered me in the parking garage after a late deposition, the concrete echoing our heels like accusations in a courtroom. Rain pattered on the levels above, turning the air metallic. Chloe, level with me. Is this about Jake? Because if he said something. I cut her off with a laugh, sharp and unfamiliar even to me. Said something? Like what, Mia? That he touched you. Her face drained, the color leaching out like watercolor in a storm. I told you that in confidence. You promised. I promised to protect you. I hissed, stepping closer, the scent of her Chanel No. 5 cloying in the damp. And I did. Over and over. The pills, the filing, the crash. When does it end? She recoiled, but her eyes, those whiskey eyes, flashed defiance. The old Mia surfacing, the one who'd sweet-talk her way out of detentions. You think you're the martyr? I built this life for us, Chloe. The firm, the connections, it's all for us. Us. The word twisted, because there was no us anymore, just me and the echo of her betrayals. I left her there, engine rumbling to life, the wipers slashing through the downpour like my thoughts. Back home, the apartment felt like a stage set for tragedy, curtains drawn, the hum of the L train a distant dirge. Jake was at a staff meeting, or so he claimed. I used the time to weave tighter threads. From my laptop, I crafted anonymous emails to his principal, concerned parent noticing inappropriate relationships with adult relatives. Attached, blurry screenshots from his phone, me deleting them first, of course, of him and Mia at a tutoring session, arms too close, smiles too intimate. Nothing pornographic, just enough to ignite the rumor mill in that tight-knit suburb school. By morning, his inbox would swell with questions, his reputation a house of cards in a stiff breeze. But doubt not, a rat in the walls. Late-night Google spirals led me to forums. Reddits are /relationships, a graveyard of confessions, where betrayed spouses dissected their wreckage. Is revenge worth the soul it costs? One post asked, upvotes piling like accusations. I slammed the laptop shut, poured a tumbler of bourbon, Maker's Mark, Jake's go-to, and paced the living room, the hardwood cool under my bare feet. What was I becoming? The fixer turned saboteur, the sister turned executioner. Yet every time I faltered, Mia's words replayed. He touched me, as if she were the victim, not the viper. The firm was next, a viper's nest itself. I timed it for the monthly partners' lunch at Giordano's, where the deep dish arrives in cast-iron skillets heavy as grudges. Harlan was there, pontificating about billables over sausage and peppers, Mia at his elbow, all polished poise. I waited until dessert, cannoli drizzled in chocolate, ironic sweetness, then leaned in during a lull. Sir, about Mia's audits. I found something. His fork paused. I slid a USB across the table, labeled Ethics Review. Inside, forged logs of her consults, timestamps overlapping mine, client names blurred just enough to imply theft. It's probably nothing, I murmured, but better safe. The fallout was swift, surgical. By week's end, Mia was on probation, her office door sporting a temporary relocation sign like a scarlet letter. She texted me at 2 a.m. What the hell, Chloe? This is you, isn't it? I didn't reply, but sleep evaded me, visions of her tear-streaked face from O'Malley's morphing into something feral. Jake, too, unraveled. Late calls from the school, whispers in the staff lounge about boundaries. He confronted me over takeout Thai, the apartment thick with curry and tension. People are talking, Chloe, about me and Mia. It's insane. I met his gaze, that smile flickering like a faulty bulb. Is it? Or is it just truth catching up? He denied it, of course, vehement, hands gesturing like he was diagramming the Boston Tea Party. She's family. I'd never. But the stutter gave him away, the pause where lies hide. I pressed, voice low. Then why the late nights? Why the texts I saw? His face crumpled, not in anger, but defeat. It was one kiss. Stupid, drunk. She came over, we talked about you, how you've been distant since that big case, and it just happened. I stopped it. Swear to God. One kiss. Touched her. The euphemisms piled like snowdrifts, burying the hurt. But in his eyes, I saw the fracture, not malice, but weakness. The man I'd married, reduced to a footnote in his own story. That's when the real plan ignited, the one that would split us all down the middle. I wouldn't just expose, I'd excavate. Dig up the crash report, anonymize it, leak it to the Bar Association with a note. Pattern of deception. Mia's license teetering, Jake's complicity in the cover, because yeah, he'd known, pieced it together years ago during one of her guilt-fueled confessions over wine. I forgave her for you, he'd admitted now, voice breaking. Forgave her, not us. The betrayal layered, onion skin thin, each peel revealing more rot. As autumn leaves skittered across Michigan Avenue, the city turning gold and gray, I walked the loop at lunch, skyscrapers looming like judgmental gods. Passers-by hustled, suits barking into AirPods, tourists snapping selfies with the Picasso sculpture, oblivious to the war in my veins. Was I the villain here? The smile said no, but the mirror whispered yes. Mia called, voice a raw wire. Please, Chloe. Meet me. Let's talk. I agreed, picking neutral ground. The Art Institute, where Monet's water lilies float in deceptive calm. She arrived late, coat dusted with early frost, looking smaller than her 5'7" frame. We wandered the galleries, footsteps muffled on polished floors, the air humming with hushed reverence. I didn't mean for this, she started, stopping before a Hopper painting, Nighthawks, that eternal loneliness in a late-night diner. Fitting. Jake was persistent. But I love you more than anything. Remember the treehouse? When Dad built it in the backyard, and we swore we'd always have each other's backs. Tears welled, genuine this time, and for a heartbeat, I wavered. The old us flickered, sisters against the world, orphans forging fire from ash. But then she added, soft as sin, I did it for us. The firm gig? I pulled strings so you'd get that promotion. The crash? I was scared, Chloe. You were always the strong one. Lies wrapped in half-truths, her moxie flipping like a coin. I nodded, the smile a steel trap. I know. As we parted under the museum's grand arches, I slipped the envelope into her bag and signed, damning, photocopies of the report, highlighted with her name. Your move, sis. Winter clamped down hard that year, the kind of cold that turns the Chicago River to ice and tempers to steel. My plan crested like a wave off Navy Pier, frothy with inevitability. The leak hit the Bar Association mid-December, just as holiday lights twinkled like false promises along the Mag Mile. Anonymous, of course, routed through a VPN in some coffee shop in Andersonville, but the damage was a tsunami. Mia's name trended in legal Slack channels. Harlan and Associates associate under ethics probe for falsified records. Her LinkedIn went dark. Calls from headhunters dried up. Jake's school launched a full investigation, precautionary leave, sounding like code for your radioactive. He moved to the couch that night, our king-sized bed a no-man's land of tangled sheets and unspoken indictments. This is you, isn't it? He asked, voice hollow as the wind through the L tracks. I sat across from him in the dim lamplight, nursing a mug of chamomile that tasted like regret. What if it is? You touched her, Jake. In our home. He buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking, not sobs, but something deeper, the unraveling of a good man into a ghost. I messed up, but destroying us? That's not love, Chloe. Love. The word hung, brittle as icicles, and for the first time, my smile faltered. Was he right? Or was this the justice I denied myself for years, the reckoning for every secret I'd swallowed? Mia didn't fight clean. She never had. 2 days before Christmas, she showed at my door, unannounced, eyes wild, a manila folder clutched like a shield. The hallway smelled of pine from neighbors' wreaths, carols drifting faint from an apartment down the hall. "We need to end this," she said, pushing past into the kitchen, where gingerbread men cooled on wire racks. Ironic, my attempt at normalcy. She slapped the folder down. Photos, grainy but damning. Me, age 19, slipping the baggie into my pack at that party. "You think you're clean?" Scrawled in her looping script. I kept these, just in case. For protection. Protection. The word curdled, because this was blackmail, sister to sister, blood turned venom. We circled each other like boxers in a ring, the Formica island between us a flimsy barrier. "You covered for me," she spat. "But you resented it. This revenge? It's not about Jake. It's about you finally snapping, taking back what I stole." Her words landed true, a gut punch that doubled me over. Resentment? Yeah, it festered, a low hum under every congrats I'd mustered for her milestones. But the crash? That was love, twisted and unconditional. "You let me rot," I whispered, voice cracking. "For your dreams." She softened then, reaching across, but I jerked back. "And now? Pregnant," she said, hand drifting to her abdomen, the twist dropping like a guillotine. "Jake's. I was going to tell you, before all this." The world tilted, the kitchen spinning in a vortex of red and green lights from the window. Pregnant. Our betrayal birthing something new, a child caught in the crossfire. Questions bombarded. Was it the one kiss, or more? Did she trap him, or hear? The smile died entirely, replaced by a hollow ache. "What do you want?" I asked, sinking into a chair, the fight leaching out like air from a punctured tire. "Mercy," she replied, simple as that. "Drop the probes. We'll raise it together. Family, like always." Family. The siren song, pulling me under. But revenge doesn't negotiate, it consumes. That night, alone while she waited in the guest room. Jake still on the couch, oblivious. I paced, phone in hand. One call to the cops. I have evidence of fraud, perjury. Mia's license gone, the baby fatherless. Or delete the files, swallow the pill, rebuild on ruins. The high tide of the plot broke then, waves crashing in my chest. I thought of Mom's locket, tucked in my jewelry box, engraved sisters forever. Thought of the treehouse, rotted now, but the oath etched in child scrawl on its beams. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, snow blanketing the fire escapes like a shroud. I woke them both, Jake bleary-eyed, Mia curled fetal on the bedspread. "Sit," I said, voice steady for the first time in months. The living room became our confessional, coffee steaming like peace offerings. "The truth," I demanded. Jake confessed. The touch was mutual, a stolen weekend in Milwaukee while I visited Aunt Ruth. Weakness, he called it, tears carving tracks down his stubble. Mia nodded, hand on her belly. "I seduced him. To hurt you. Payback for the resentment I felt. Living in your shadow." Shadow. Me, the ex-con fixer. Her, the star. The twist uncoiled. She'd known about my doubts, fed them with subtle barbs, turning my anchors to chains. Chow Treo hit in the silence that followed, the room thick as fog off the lake. "So what now?" Jake asked, voice a plea. I looked between them, husband, sister, soon-to-be parents to my niece or nephew, and the choice split me wide. Destroy, and I'd be the monster, orphaning a child for sins not its own. Forgive, and I'd swallow the shards, emerge scarred but whole. The reader in me, the one devouring those podcasts, knew this was the fork. No heroes, just survivors picking through the debris. I chose the gray. "We end it," I said, deleting files from my phone with a flourish, the bar association tip retracted via frantic email. Mia's probe halted, Jake's leave lifted with a misunderstanding. But terms, therapy, 3 times weekly, the 3 of us unpacking the rot. No more secrets, no more shields. The baby would have aunts and uncles, not vendettas. Jake nodded, relief flooding his face. Mia wept, pulling me into an embrace that smelled of salt and second chances. Was it happy? Not the fairy tale kind, with bows and bells. Spring thawed the city slow, magnolias blooming defiant along the boulevards, but our marriage creaked, patched with counseling and caution. Mia's bump swelled, ultrasounds showing tiny fists like promises. I held her hand at the first appointment. the gel cold on her skin, heartbeat thumping like a drum in some ancient rite. Jake and I, we danced around the minefield, date nights at the Green Mill, jazz saxophone weaving through our silences, tentative kisses that tasted of forgiveness and fear. Yet the twist lingered, a burr under the saddle. Months later, flipping through old photos for the nursery, me and Mia at the Taste of Chicago, cotton candy grins. I found it, a note tucked in the frame, her handwriting. I lied about seducing him. He came to me, broken over your distance. But I let it happen, because part of me wanted your pain. Forgive me? The question mark hung, unanswered. Was she the villain, or was I, for building walls so high they invited the breach? Readers would argue, she deserved worse. Or blood wins, always. Me? I burned the note in the sink, watched it curl to ash, and smiled. Not the vengeful one, but something softer, scarred. Chicago rolled on, relentless. Cubs games in the heat, blizzards burying sins. We weren't fixed, but we were forward. Me back at the firm, promoted on merit. Jake tenured, lessons laced with hard-won wisdom. Mia, motherhood softening her edges. License intact, but humility hard-earned. The revenge? It faded to echo, a storm passed, leaving altered landscapes. In the end, Betrayal'S quiet smile taught me, no one's wholly right, wholly wrong. We're all just paddling, hoping the current doesn't claim us whole.